Hello, welcome to another vintage Scalextric Formula One track test, and today we're going to be looking at the car which for me started it all off, the Renault RS01, the first Formula One turbo car which came out in 1978, this model. Give it a few laps around the track and we'll talk you through things I like and maybe not so like about it. So it came out in the 1979 catalogue. There it is, with an extra large elf logo there and an extra large number font, which Scalextric themselves didn't carry over to the actual model. And although I love this car, by the time this car came out, it was, as so often happened in the fast changing world of Formula One at the time, obsolete, because the RS10 and RS20 cars came out later in 1979, 1980, and they made this car look agricultural, really. The technology moved on so quickly. But it doesn't really matter, because this is an iconic car because it's the first Renault turbo car. So it's always got its place in history. It still does the rounds on the vintage Formula One circuit when Renault do their own displays. And when they do those displays, it's run with chrome wheels, which is what I've put on this car. It came with black wheels and yeah, looked great. Didn't look so great compared to the Ferrari, which came out at the same time, which had chrome wheels. But I think the chrome sets it off very well. The number font at the back of the driver is on a black panel. In real life, that black panel was never there. Don't know why Scalextric decided to put that on there, but if you Google pictures of the RS01, you'll notice that the number behind the driver is black on a yellow panel. So a little bit bizarre for that. But otherwise, it's a beautiful model. Some people said when it came out that it's really a very, very bulky, wide car. And some of the cars were bulky and wide. But if we compare it to a modern Formula One car, and here we have Lando Norris's McLaren, it's pretty small in comparison. The length difference is just, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Modern Formula One cars are just way too long and way too big, and everyone knows that. But that's not the purpose of this video. Video is to see how this car goes around the track. This car's been digitized. It's very easy to digitize this. I've also put a new motor in it as well, because these old cars now are getting very, very old. More modern helmet put in as well. And again, I can hear people say, you're losing the originality. And again, I'll say, there's so many originals in the world. You've only got one life. Put the car how you would like it. And the helmets which Scalextric brought out were of a very early 1970s design, and things were much more modern by the late 70s. The 70s was such a period of dramatic change. Things became old-fashioned almost overnight. So let's see how this car goes round the track on a slow pacer setting as it goes up the hill, downhill, and plunges down. Behind the pits, it's a very nice car to drive, actually. It's very stable. It's a bit heavy because it's just bulky. And some of the other Scalextric cars of that era, perhaps the Tyrrell or the Williams, are a little bit faster because they're a little bit lighter. And this car, this had a standard motor. It would have been quite nice for Scalextric to put a slightly uprated motor in this, wouldn't it? So you'd have, in effect, the the turbo effect to counteract the fact that the car's a little bit heavy. So in real life, this was driven by Jean-Pierre Jabouille, and he first came on the scene in this car in 1977. It was called the Yellow Teapot, and the engine was very, very unreliable. But they were trying to extract a lot of horsepower by putting turbos onto a 1.5 litre engine in a world where the rest of the Formula One grid had 3 litre engines, which were normally aspirated, and the turbo pushed extra air into the cylinders, and in effect what they were trying to do is double the capacity of the cylinders to get more power. And of course eventually they did, and F1 World had to catch up and do turbos of their own, and Renault really should have won the first Formula One championship with the turbo car, but they were beaten by BMW and Nelson Piquet in 1983. So for this car, it was driven in real life in 1978 and early 1979 by Jean-Pierre Jabouille, who had the number 15 car, joined by Renault RS01, who had the number 16 car in early 1979, before Renault changed their car to the much more modern RS10, which made this car obsolete overnight. But it's an iconic car because it's the first car which carried the turbo engine, and Jabouille got the first turbo victory in 1979 with the next model from this, the RS10. This car didn't really have much success on the track in real life, but there are some great videos on YouTube. Look up Kyalami 1979 and you will see the pure power of this car when driven by Jabouille against the 2 Ferraris of, I think, Jody Scheckter and Gilles Villeneuve, which pass it round the corners, and then Jabouille then puts his foot down and on the straight waltzes past them. So it's going round the track very nicely. Let's take it off for a moment and have a closer look at the car. So Scale Electric didn't bother putting the Michelin stickers and smaller stickers on the side of the car, just the white bars, which was a bit of a shame really. They could have done that because they got the front of it quite nice. And Renault there, again, the very next year changed the font. So this old Renault font in lowercase was instantly outdated. Yes, and there's the chip diode underneath. And this car was what started it for me. It was my very first purchase, and I got this. Shortly afterwards I bought the Ligier for it to race against, and I thought the world of these cars, and I still think after all this time it really looks, I think, very nice. Certainly it's a little bit bulky, but as I said before, compared to Lando Norris, not really. It was of its time. So there we have it, the Renault RS01. And it's a brilliant hobby to have these old Scale Electric cars and put digital chips in them and reuse them. And these can be picked up for peanuts. They don't hold their value very well. Pick them up on eBay for £5, put a chip in it, and you've got yourself a lovely piece of Formula One history. Well, that's it for now, and thank you for watching. And if you liked it, consider subscribing to the channel, where there will be some pacer racing happening very soon. Here's a sneak preview of some of the pacer cars we shall be racing. Until then, bye for now.